Hey folks, what is going on? Armen Hammer, that right there is Justin LoFranco with the Morning Chalk Up, and today on The Minute, we're going to be talking a whole lot of sanctionals, but specifically the Dubai CrossFit Championships that have kicked off the 2019 CrossFit Games season. Let's get started. Justin, first off, before we get into the Dubai CrossFit Championships, we just recently learned the dates for the 2019 CrossFit Games Open, the one that's going to be taking place in February, the one that's usually taking place in February, the one that we're used to. Tell me what's going on here.
Yeah, so we finally got the dates for the 2019 CrossFit Open. No surprises here. It's going to be starting on the third week of February. It's actually on the 21st, and we're going to have 5 weeks of competition just like before. So there's not a lot of changes here. There's not a lot of adjustments or things that are going to have to be too different. Obviously, though, the weight of the Open completely shifts. So on top of each individual winner from every country that has a CrossFit affiliate, and there are 162 countries with CrossFit affiliates, you're going to have the top 20 worldwide also qualifying for the Open. So the weight of that has gone up, but the format appears to be, for the most part, staying the same, though we don't know too many other details of that at this stage.
So we can't really expect the Open to have any sort of massive changes. That they've really settled on a format that has worked really well since 2011, 2012. I mean, that 5 week long format has been really good. And now with the brand new CrossFit Games season changes, all these sanctioned events popping up, and the unknown factor of where to sort of slot these events in to this new season, we do have one specific case in which a sanctioned event is going to kind of overlap with the Open, at least for this year, and that's strength and depth. How are they going to try and solve that problem?
This is a really cool story, and actually it's really cool for a couple of reasons. One, because we've never seen the Open done in mass except at an individual CrossFit affiliate, but it's never been done with top CrossFit Games athletes. And so what Strength and Depth is going to do is they're actually programming 19.1 as the first event of the Strength and Depth competition in London. So they're actually going to be doing that in heats on the competition floor all together. Now, the funny thing is, and thankfully that the Open is usually the case, equipment isn't usually a barrier, and they try to make the Open very open and accessible to all athletes who could do it in their garage gym, or they could do it at an affiliate, or they could do it at a Globo gym or outside sometimes. So luckily that's the case, so that they probably won't have any issues there with equipment requirements. But this is super cool, and I'm really excited to see that. I'm really excited to see top athletes doing the Open together, actually in a competition. We've never seen that before, and I think that's super cool.
I think I feel the same way about this as you do, because I've always wanted to see a competition that is taking place during the Open utilize the Open as one of the programmed events. I mean, there's been sort of this hesitation for event organizers to put workouts or put their events during the Open, just because it used to be this really walled off garden that CrossFit was creating. And now that they've opened the doors for these other events to come in and actually try and flourish a little bit, it would make sense that now is a good time to maybe throw in some of these events during the Open and try and at least embrace that sort of new format.
The truth is, the Strength and Depth is making the best of a situation they had no control of, to be honest. They don't have the control of when the Open is. They had a very tough calendar in order to fit their event in, and they have to keep in mind that in order to get athletes to go to Strength and Depth, they can't be on the same weekend as another major competition. So it just so happened the Open ended up being the same weekend as theirs. They're making the best of a situation. I think they made a really smart move in doing that, and they're going to allow all the athletes who are competing there to get there judged and log an Open score, which I think makes the most sense right here.
Absolutely. And hopefully 19.1 doesn't include something crazy like you need 50 feet of open space and 6 dumbbells per person or something.
Handstand walking.
Yeah, why not? Whatever, let's go for it. Another reason why this is happening, though, is because there have been lots of unknowns in this CrossFit Games season. In fact, even with DCC starting this past week, we still have lots of unanswered questions. You pointed out rightly that we don't even have a rule book officially from the CrossFit Games yet, while we do have a CrossFit Games season that has started.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, last night here in North America, a Wednesday in Dubai, the first event kicked off for the CrossFit Games season. So it is now fully and completely underway, and we don't have a rule book. And so, we just, you and I have talked about this a lot. We've talked about rules. How's it going to play out? We've talked to coaches. We've talked to athletes. We're constantly getting talked to about what is going to be happening, and we don't know. And I'll bring up a really great point about the Open, which is I said there's going to be the top 20 athletes worldwide, but we don't exactly know how that plays out. And I think any athlete, like Jacob Pepper in particular, who's putting a lot of their eggs in that Open basket, and he's a great athlete to do that, better hope the rules on that don't change, because as one coach said to me, until it's in the rule book, it's not official.
And the only thing we officially know right now, only thing we really know right now, is if you are the best CrossFitter in your nation,
yes,
or you win a sanctioned event, you will get a way into the CrossFit Games. You can get a spot at the CrossFit Games by being in the top 20 worldwide, excluding people who already have national qualifiers, but there is no real clarity for these athletes about how that's going to play out among all of these sanctioned events. And that right there, that is a place where the sort of fog around all of this information becomes dangerous for these athletes.
It does become very dangerous. A couple athletes reached out, privately after we published the story, and they're like, "That was me. I'm standing on the sidelines because I don't know what's going on here," and that hurts the sport of CrossFit. It also hurts the sponsors. It also hurts the sanctioned events who are trying to plan and organize, and the individuals that want to compete in those events. And it's just not good, because when you have a sport, when you have a professional sport, everybody wants to know that they're on the same playing field, that the rules won't change after the fact, and that something that they did now won't disqualify them from competition later on. And that's just basic fairness, and that's basic fair play. And I think that's what's really frustrating, is that they introduced all of these sweeping changes, and then they said, "Okay, we're gonna release it, codify all of those rules in a rule book that's going to get published as of right now before the Open." But that's in February, and when we broke this news, it was in August. It was just a couple weeks after the CrossFit Games, and a lot of people have expressed a little bit dismay at this lack of proactivity on the part of CrossFit, because they've had months, literally months, with these changes and with these ideas, and they're a lot of people that are sitting back and just kind of scratching their heads and going, how can you introduce a bunch of changes like that and just announce them, and then not answer key questions like who's handling drug testing at all these sanctioned events? I mean, just
even without the answers, we know enough to know what actions the very, very top of the sport need to take. And that is, unfortunately, all we have to work with right now. And the rest of it just has to be confidence that HQ is going to, at the very least, be able to look at multiple possibilities and address each of those possibilities. But leaving the unknown outside of this, what we have in our hands right now is the start of the 2019 CrossFit Games season with the Dubai CrossFit Championships. And day one has already kicked off. Before we get into the action, did you watch the live stream, Justin? I already know the answer to this, but I feel like people might.
Yeah,
want to know as well.
we were both up. I don't know what time you went to sleep. I went about 3 a.m. my time. I think the stream wrapped up maybe about a little after 1 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, I watched it, and you could kind of see that they were getting their feet wet with this first day. There wasn't the stream kind of started off a little bit janky and kind of was mid-event, and they didn't have like a time clock or leaderboards or any of those elements, which about an hour later they started incorporating those slowly into the stream. The big issue now is that because everybody was asleep, that's here in North America, they woke up to a stream archive that had been removed by YouTube because of copyright infringement. Basically what happened was they just had music playing on in the background on the beach, and they had popular pop songs, and Sony was like, nope, that's our music, and ding them for a copyright violation, and the stream is down. So they're trying to figure out how to get it back up so that people can watch it. It's nighttime there, though, so TBD on when exactly that's going to happen. But I know that they're working on it because I've talked to them several times about it.
First off, I want to say that when you're saying they're getting their toes wet, I really appreciate that pun because they got into the water both events. On
Slid that right in there. Yeah.
Second off, I would expect a little bit better. To be honest with you, I didn't mind the stream at all. I saw a lot of people commenting about audio issues. I had no audio issues. I had no issues with the videos. And I thought Chase and Bill did a great job of at least trying to add some context to this thing. They were kind of left out to dry, I feel like, without necessarily having a good feel for all the competitors as well as an idea of like how to keep track of who's in the lead. The graphics that people have gotten used to seeing for regionals or the games weren't there, but I think people are sort of misrepresenting just how difficult it is to put together a live stream like that. And I felt that the quality of what they were able to put together was actually pretty high. But it is unfortunate and kind of disappointing that they ran into this issue with the copyright on the music because they should know better. They should definitely know better. They've done this in the past. CrossFit hasn't had this issue with any of their live streams. Whoever they need to talk to, I'm sure that those communications are already open. Hopefully they get it resolved so it doesn't require, some sort of crazy workaround like getting in there and cutting all the music out and re-uploading because
that's a 5-hour stream. That's going to take a long time to upload.
Exactly. So now that we have an idea of what the stream experience was like and what we can expect, maybe the streams are going to be a little bit better, moving forward, especially once they get into the interior, events, the events that aren't just out on the beach.
Yeah, it's a little
somewhere.
bit easier to have camera placement inside of an arena than it does outside on the beach where you can't exactly send somebody out in the middle of the ocean, on a buoy and
So let's talk about those. Let's talk about those first two events.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the divisions one by one. Let's start with the women. You and I both had similar ideas on what was going to happen. We both thought Laura Horvath was the athlete to beat coming into Dubai CrossFit Championships. We both thought she was going to get pushed by Sam Briggs, Sarah Sigmundsdottir, and I threw in Bethany Shadburn. You threw in Jamie Green.
Yep.
Where are we standing with those predictions as of right now with one day of the DCC down?
Honestly, not that surprising when it comes down to it. Sam Briggs is sitting on top by 5 points. I think the biggest surprise is Harriet Roberts, who's coming from a team competitor and now competing as an individual. She's only 5 points behind Sam Briggs. Jamie Green in third place. She's a local. She lives in the area. She trains in the area. This is not an unfamiliar terrain to her, and it's outside, which makes that even more in her favor. And then, Laura Horvath is sitting very comfortably still in fifth place. She's 30 points behind Sam Briggs. She hasn't picked up a barbell yet. Sarah Sigmundsdottir, I think she's in a really strong position at sixth. And then Bethany Shadburn, your girl, is right there in seventh. And, she had a little bit of an issue with the buoy, lost the buoy in event 2, and just had problems kind of finding it and got I think that probably cost her a couple of spots and a few points when it came down to it. But honestly, there's not a lot of surprises here. My other girl was Danny Spiegel, and I don't think these events play well to her her advantage. So she's sitting in eighth place, and I think she's really in a strong first.
The
first
old
day start.
cliche still stands true, which is it's a long weekend. There are 10 events. We've seen 2 of them. While these 2 events may not necessarily be representative of how the entire weekend is going to pan out, obviously the fittest names are going to rise to the top.
Yeah, that's what happens.
No matter what the events are. What I'm interested to see, though, is how an athlete like Laura Horvath, how an athlete like Sarah Sigmundsdottir, how they can come back from what is, not necessarily the best day one that they've ever had and put together a weekend that's going to get them onto the podium.
Yes, Sarah, I actually think Sarah's going to do really well tomorrow because of how much endurance she's been doing. She talked about that in the road to the games leading up to the CrossFit Games, how much endurance she was incorporating into her training after she got injured. She's continuing that endurance training and had recognized early on with her new set of coaches that running was an area that she needed to improve on. So I'm really actually very excited to see Sarah and how she bounces back from day one. Sam, obviously, very much so on day 2 with an endurance event. Laura, I'm a little nervous about Laura, though. I don't think she's going to... I don't think she will be in the top 10 after tomorrow. That's me.
That's fair.
I think we're gonna wake up tomorrow and we're gonna see her that she's gonna be in the bottom portion here. That's my take here. I think a lot of these athletes are going to pass her on the run, and she's gonna force sort of like whittle her way down the leaderboard after 3 events. That's kind of my take.
Listen, I think that's a fair assumption. She's been working a lot of strength work over the past couple months. She's certainly not in games shape because it just hasn't had enough time to recover and then peak back up for it. And on top of that, like you mentioned last time, she's been on the road so much over the past few weeks. It's just impossible to say that she's going to be at peak physical condition that she was in when it was August and she was at the CrossFit Games. That said, speaking of peak physical condition, let's go ahead and take a look at the men's side of the competition because, again, you and I agreed, along with 99.9% of other people who have eyeballs and like this sport, that Matt Fraser is the man to beat in this event. And we are still not wrong.
Still not
However,
wrong. Yes.
The guy's in 4th place after day 1. I mean, you're just slipping, Matt. Come on, you haven't locked it up already after 2 events?
I think it's a sigh of relief where we can actually say something other than first place, because it didn't look like that in the beginning, because he actually took first. And he had this sort of casual demeanor about going through the first part of event 1, where he was just kind of slow and steady, and then he's like, well, Matt Fraser's in first place. Well, this is going to kind of be over. He didn't do quite as well in event 2, but he's in 4th place, 169 points. He's 31 points back, 21 points back from first place. Who won the trail run last time in Aromas? Okay, so
that's a good point. That's a very good point.
We'll see it tomorrow.
I think you're on to the right things here, because Matt Fraser doesn't need a strong start. No. In any group of events, whether it's like 7 events or 15 events over the course of a few days, he's probably going to rise to the top and then stay there the rest of the time. So I'm not super worried about where he's at right now, and I don't think he's very worried about where he's at right now either. But I was very impressed with a couple other performances, namely Bjørgvin Carl Gudmundsson coming in very, very strong with 2 swimming events, swimming not having really been a strength of his. He's clearly been working on it, putting in the hours it needs to really develop that part of his game. And he himself, I don't know if you saw his Instagram, he had a real Ryan Gosling hey girl moment, like looking into the camera longingly with those eyes of his and just kind of talking a little bit about how excited he is at how good his swimming has become over the course of the past few years. But it is going to be a very long weekend. There's 8 more events, and Matt Fraser is not going to be letting go of that title shot without a huge fight. No.
And before we go, I think we need to give recognition to the top 2 athletes here that we haven't mentioned, or are really tied for first place right now. 190 and 190. We have Alex. I'm going to butcher his name. Katulas. Greek, I believe, and Matt McLeod from Australia, who are tied for first place, both with 190 points. I think, look, I've never even heard of Alex before, so this is the first time I'm seeing his name and have an opportunity to watch him on the competitive floor. So, really very impressive when it comes to the first day. I mean, obviously not intimidated by the bigger names that are sitting right there and competing alongside. So it sounds like they've got a good endurance, bit of endurance here. So they could wind themselves into a strong finish after day 2 and kind of shake up the leaderboard a little bit. It would be interesting because Matt usually ends up being at the top of the leaderboard by about day 2. So yeah,
the more of a shake-up, the better off it is for sure. But let's go ahead and take a look now at the teams, because the team competition is, I think, strange is probably a good way of describing it.
I think listening to the live stream, Bill Grunler and Chase Ingram had a lack of words to basically describe the team competition, because the team competition is an individual competition that is done as essentially teams doing an individual workout, which, if that sounds confusing to you, it's because it is. It's basically like you're doing a partner workout as a relay style. And so I'm gonna finish the same individual workout that the individuals are doing, and then my partner is gonna do it as soon as I'm done. So he's gonna run up and tag. So they're doing the same workouts as the individuals, which is terrible if you are a CrossFit Mayhem who thrives on their ability to do things in sync and together. It's great if you are a team of individual CrossFit Games athletes, like CrossFit Invictus, Lauren Fisher, Rasmus Anderson, Reagan Huckabee, Tommy Venus, or the third place team, Cassidy Lance, Jen Smith, Adrian Munweiler, Lucas Esslinger, both sitting in really strong positions. And we had talked about this last week about, hey, depending on how the team events end up shaking up, this could really benefit one team or another.
For sure. And what we have is, listen, strange for definitely is a great way of describing this type of a team competition. When I spoke with the organizers at DCC, their explanation to me was that they're looking to change up how CrossFit Games selection has taken place. And they looked at it as an opportunity to not repeat the past and actually try and forge new ground and look for something different to do, a different way of selecting. And while I don't necessarily agree that this is the best way of picking a team to go to the CrossFit Games, I 100% respect the fact that each of these individual sanctioned events are going to be able to have their own flavor. Some of them are going to want to do events like this, where it really is about a team made up of the best individual athletes possible, whereas some of the other events are going to want to do more team style events that we've seen in the past, whether that includes synchro workouts or the worm or paired workouts on deadlifts or whatever that ends up looking like. I think the different flavors we're going to see is actually going to only increase the excitement, increase the fun, and make it more interesting to watch. Even though I think that this is not the best way of picking a games.
I think we're kind of in agreement there. I don't know. I think I'm of the mind that it seems like actually a lack of creativity, to be honest. I mean, I think it's an explanation to say, we wanted to do things a little bit different. I don't know. I didn't speak with them, but looking at the events individually and the competition, it's sort of like, hey, we spent all this time and effort and energy, and this has been a criticism of Dave in the past when we looked at teams events for the team for the games. It was like, look at all this, really creative energy that was put into the individual side, and then you're like, and then kind of the leftovers got tossed over to the teams. It kind of seems like that a little bit to me here. I didn't speak with them, you did, but so we'll take them on face value there. But I think that the teams have been reduced to just sort of like a really second nature, like kind of secondhand like competition. After they really have been whittled down in the new season of CrossFit Games changes. So I don't know.
Yeah, listen, I respect that the line they fed me was about how they're trying to change the games and not repeat the past now that they have an opportunity to start with a clean slate.
Sure.
I respect it. That's great. But realistically, what probably happened was they had no idea they had to do a team competition to qualify a team for the games, and they didn't have the logistical capabilities to make something like that happen to the level that we've seen at the games in the past.
Probably accurate.
This is just the best that they can come up with, and that's totally fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. Let's say, for example, one of the Invictus teams wins, or let's say, for example, that Super Hyper team wins that has Cassidy and her crew. All of those guys are going to get individual spots anyway if they want them. So this is kind of going to be a moot point, especially considering we don't have a rule book to know exactly what happens with teams that have individuals that qualify.
Exactly.
But what we do know now, looking forward, is that we have 3 more days of competition, including tomorrow, which is the 4x4 event. It's a 4K run with a weight vest, followed by a 4K run without a weight vest. In the desert, in the dunes. Lots of really, really bad conditions coming for these athletes.
Yeah.
Between heat, between the sand itself, between the weight vest, between the fact that Sam Briggs is going to be collecting souls on the course.
She will beat everyone, including the men.
Absolutely. So, I think there's going to be some broken human beings at the end of that last 4K for sure.
Yeah.
But that is just a little flavor of what's going on for the rest of the week. You and I, we maybe not have been privy to some of the events that are going to be upcoming over the weekend, but I feel like we are each excited for maybe different things.
Right.
And I wanted to ask you, before we finish this off, what is the event over this weekend for the DCC that you are most excited to see?
Most excited to see is going to be Liftoff Event 9.
Oh, that was mine!
Of course it is, because it's classic CrossFit. It's 15 heavy snatches followed by 15 heavy clean and jerks. I mean, that's just what that makes good sport. Because
it's going to be awesome.
It's so to translate here, it's a 90 kilo / 60 kilo snatches, 15 snatches, and then 15 clean and jerks, 110 kilos, 80 kilos. For those of us that don't count in kilos, like me, that would be a 200-pound snatch and a 132-pound snatch for the women, and a 242-pound clean and jerk and a 176-pound clean and jerk for the women. That's heavy enough to make this really interesting, especially with the top athletes, especially with guys like Matt Frazier. I can't wait to see how people approach this.
I'm really excited to see Travis Mayer take on the Liftoff event. I'm excited to see Sarah Sigmundsdottir take on the Liftoff event. I'm excited to see Laura Horvath take on the Liftoff event. I'm excited to see every single one of these athletes just grab those heavy ass barbells and take it to the next level on an event that for most CrossFitters would literally be impossible to do, and they're all going to finish it very, very quickly.
Yeah, the time cap is 6 minutes.
So exciting about Liftoff.
The time cap is 6 minutes. This is an absurd time cap when it comes down to it, because it's going to be like 3 and change.
It's going to be fast. It's going to be really fast. I'm excited to watch that for sure.
That's akin to what that's a heavy half Isabel and a heavy half Grace. I give him
absolutely correct.
I give top times on the men's side sub 3.
It's like a Grace-abel,
320.
kind of this weird amalgamation between them. And I again want to reiterate, I am very excited to watch that event. I mean, obviously there's max lifts as well. There's a max snatch.
Those are always
right, fun to watch.
I like this. This is tough. It's aggressive. It's literally you have to put the pedal to the metal and just go hard and heavy, and it makes for good sport. The fans are really gonna love that one. That's gonna be a lot of fun. So
for sure.
Anyways,
and to just wrap this up here, I think Justin. We can finally put this thing to bed. Yeah. We can put a nail in this coffin here. It is officially called Sanctionals.
Yes.
So thank you very much, everybody. That's right.
Yep.
Sanctionals is the official term.
The official term is now
right
Sanctionals. Here. CrossFit Games has adopted the term Sanctionals on their website. There's a new tab up there if you go to games.crossfit.com. It says Sanctionals. Armen's been saying that for weeks, maybe even months now. I keep saying sanctioned events. He's been saying Sanctionals. I guess it's going to be Sanctionals.
We made it a thing, guys. And everyone who has been messaging me on Instagram and Facebook and tweeting me, I really appreciate all of the support. I knew from the beginning that we were going to be able to make this a thing. So congratulations. It wasn't just me. It was all of you. We did this together.
Do you recall how that came about, Sanctionals? Were we like talking on the phone like really fast about sanctioned events, and it was like Sanctionals, and then it was just like,
I have no idea. I'm going to say that it was presented to me through a burning bush from the clouds parted and light
on
flooded.
Mount Austin.
That's right. That's
good.
exactly what happened.
Very good.
Well, folks, thank you so much for watching. That right there, that's Justin LoFranco with the Morning Chalk Up. I am Armen Hammer. This has been On the Minute. Enjoy the rest of the Dubai CrossFit Championships. You can watch it live on YouTube on their website as well, and hopefully they fix all of that replay issue that they ran into this morning. And we will be back next week with a full recap. Take care, folks.